My guest is Darren Harris. He is an author, speaker, and coach on mindset mastery. He works with forward-thinking organizations that want inspiration, courage, and determined to tackle life's biggest challenges. Black, blind, and a badass footballer, Darren is the most capped England blind footballer, and he uses real-life examples to bring different perspectives to his client in business, education, and sport. His motto, "The eyes are useless when the mind is blind," transformed his thinking of what blindness means and began his mission to unblind the mind. Darren is a regional president of the Professional Speaking Association, a graduate of the Coaching Academy, Amazon #1 best-selling author, and a recipient of an honorary doctorate for outstanding public service. So welcome, Darren, to the show. So you know my show is called Unbroken, and the first question I always love to ask everybody is, what does that word unbroken mean to you, Darren?
Well, for me, it means that I am still in one piece, and I've always believed that everybody does have their breaking points if we, don't look after ourselves, or we don't get others to look after us when we're really struggling. So yeah, for me, it's trying to stay intact, and whether it's mentally, physically, or whatever way we like to think about it.
Yeah, I ask that question to everybody every week, and I always get a different answer. But you have to be the most cheerful, upbeat person I think that I have actually ever come across, without a doubt.
Yeah, oh, well, that's really nice to know. I think very early on, my mother said to me, "You're black and you're blind. You're gonna have to work twice as hard as everyone else to achieve whatever it is you want in life." So she never ever let me use my blindness or my blackness as an excuse. And I I think I was a happy child, actually. My mum always said I was a happy, kind of smiley kid. I was always quite adventurous, always doing quite crazy things. And when we're happy, we're more creative, we're more productive. And I suppose fun is quite high on my list of values. So
Good.
yeah, I've always done a few silly things in my life, and people always wanted me to take life a little bit more seriously, but
Yeah.
why bother?
I'm actually with you. I think when we've been through stuff, now I just think, I'm just not going to take life too seriously. I'm here to enjoy my life, you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But you say you were a happy child, but actually it was only at about 15 months old that you developed this eye cancer, really, wasn't it? Your bilateral retinoblastoma, is that how you pronounce it?
Beautifully said.
Oh, thank you so much.
You could have been a doctor, maybe a
Well,
medical doctor.
perhaps not.
So you're absolutely right. I was 15 months old and I was diagnosed with bilateral retinoblastoma, which is a cancer that affected both my eyes. My left eye was removed. My right eye was treated with radiotherapy. Actually, we didn't really know at the time that children could get cancer, and we certainly didn't know that you could get cancer of the eyes. So, when my mum noticed, this redness in my eyes, she didn't really know what it was, took me to the eye infirmary. They kind of thought they knew what it was, but they sent me to Harley Street in London for a second opinion. And yeah, they concluded that's what it was. And at the time, they wanted to remove both my eyes, but I think it was my granddad that begged them to save one of my eyes. He couldn't really imagine what it would be like for someone to grow up without any eyes and to see nothing for the rest of their life. And that decision, I suppose, had pros and cons, as all decisions in our lives tend to. So, I mean, the pro was that I was able to see for quite a long time. Certainly in my early sort of teens, I could still see enough to kind of get around. I could still read large print, and I still had a little bit of vision even into my 20s. The downside of it was that the radiotherapy that I had in the remaining eye was, I guess it's quite a blunt instrument which we use to kind of crack a nut. So it destroys some of the healthy tissue as well as the cancerous tissue.
How brilliant you are at mapping, because our friend Natalie Kuresh, who I've also interviewed for the show, told me that she once gave you a lift to PSA Birmingham, and when you both left, you went, "Oh, I can't remember, I've put my car," and you went, "Oh, it's over there." And she said she was just amazed. You knew in an instant where she'd parked a car without seeing. So yeah, you definitely see and take in a lot more than other people.
And it's, you have to, in essence. If I didn't do it, then I wouldn't really survive, so I've had to find solutions to problems that other people haven't even considered, whether it's crossing the road as a completely blind person, whether it's knowing where you are when you're on a bus, because believe you me, that not all of the bus drivers know all of the stops on a particular route. So I've been on many a bus and I'll say, oh, can you tell me when we get to the Yenton? And he goes, oh, I don't know where that is. So,
so I think people would be really interested also to hear that you went to uni and you studied maths, and this was really before we had all the technology. So how did you do that? It's quite incredible.
I know I could have chosen an easier subject, couldn't I?
Yeah.
I often thought that, but I'm always up for a challenge. And so my sort of daily experience at university, when I wasn't partying, was that I'd borrow somebody's notes from a lecture that we'd attended. I'd get someone else to read those notes to me, and that person had to be someone who understood maths, because maths, we use loads of funny Greek symbols,
Yes.
theta and mu and lambda and all of these strange symbols. And if someone described it to me, I wouldn't necessarily know what it looked like. So they could say, well, it's this shape, but I wouldn't necessarily know what that was. So I had to get someone who understood maths to read those notes to me. And then I would browse all those notes down, and then there may be a book in the library that I'd need to reference or get some information from. So I'd go to the library, someone, get people to read information to me from that. Then I'd work out how to answer the questions, write them up in Braille, and then I'd have to read it back to them for them to write out, for me then to hand it into my lecture.
And being a parent now, just total nosiness or curiosity, your cancer that you had, was it just a strange thing to get, or was it a genetic thing? Do they know if your children would ever develop that?
Good question. So my condition was hereditary. It was a 50-50 chance. And depending on which way you look at it, he was unlucky, but in a lot of ways he's fortunate, because the big difference between him and me, even though we've got exactly the same eye condition, is that mine was detected at 15 months and his was detected at 5 weeks. And so
I didn't know that.
He had an instant treatment and he's got perfect vision. So
that's amazing.
I always see myself as a guinea pig, and I suppose that's what we all are. We make all the mistakes and failures so that others benefit from those, and so
yes, but we learn so much from our mistakes, really, don't we? I think we should make a few more.
yeah, absolutely. So he's going to be able to see perfectly fine, which is really, really strange that say we've got the same condition. But when I think about it on another level, that there are people around the world who will have the same condition as me. And I remember going out to a couple of countries in Africa, and there was a friend of mine who runs a charity that helps people with my condition in Africa, and she was saying, she'd love me to go and meet some of the doctors out there, because they'd never met a survivor of retinoblastoma, because by the time they pick it up, in some countries it's too late and the kids just never survive. And so it's a real serious condition, and it can take your life if it's not picked up early.
And so fortunate to be able to live somewhere where that technology, that science is available to you.
Yeah, truly blessed. Absolutely.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I could look at my life in so many ways and think, well, if I only had this and if I only had that. And for a long time I did focus on that. I used to go to the doctors every year when I was a teenager, hoping that they'd be able to get my sight back. I thought there'd be some miracle cure, because we kind of all think that they can put someone on the moon, they can do all sorts of things in this day and age. So you think, well, why can't they fix my eyes? But once I changed my focus away from what I didn't have to what I did have, then life suddenly got an awful lot easier and an awful lot better for me. So
I just think of that quote, we can't change the things that happen to us, but we can change the way we feel about things that happen to us. And that's exactly what you did, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's almost like once my sight was all gone, it was, oh, it's gone now, so I can focus on other things now.